Hi, this is Natalie Callback from Creative Jumpstart, and I'm super happy today that I have my friend Cheiron Brandon. I hope I butchered her name not too much. From my neck of the wood here on Creative Jumpstart. It's the first time that, no, it's not the first time, it's the second time that Cheiron is on Creative Jumpstart. And I'm so happy to have her back. She used to be on my creative squad team too. And if you haven't seen her work, well, you will hear about it and you can check it out too. She makes amazing stuff. I personally really love her small work, especially her cards that are really cool, but she also dabbles in some other adventures right now, which we will talk about a little bit later. So, Sharon, literally like right there, I can see you from my window because that's where you almost are, like a mile or two away. So, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited.
So, Cheiron, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and what you do in your artwork, and how it come about that you were crafting and arting.
Well, I work in finance during the day, and it's pretty stressful. So I want to say in 2004, I moved back to New Jersey, and I think within a week of moving back, a little stamp store opened right down the street from my house, like a mile down the street. And I never stamped before. I decided to go check it out, and they were offering classes. So I got hooked. I started taking a class like once a month and really getting into stamping. And, I started with a bucket of stamps and a little table in my room, and now I have an entire room full of stamps. And I started teaching myself. So I teach a class in New York City once a month.
Yeah, you do at the Inkpad, which are really fantastic classes. I see her samples all the time, also in the Inkpad. So if you're in New York, living in the area, or you're a tourist, you should check out definitely what the Inkpad has in store. And teachers like Sharon, or there's tons of people who are teaching at the Inkpad, and there are small classes and big classes, but it's always worth to go there and support a small business as well. So, do you remember like when you started? So you said when you moved to New Jersey, you kind of like it, but were you crafty or into arts and painting when you were a child, or was that not that much?
Oh yeah, I would definitely. When I was little, like my mom always would buy like a craft kit for us, or like popsicle sticks, or things to paint. We make it for my mom and dad, and it would just be a giant mess, but she would still put it on the kitchen counter like it was the best thing ever. So yeah, we definitely. My dad was into painting, so he used to paint a lot at night, and when he got home from work, so it's probably why I chose this as an outlet. But yeah, she always like encouraged us to try different things. Like if we wanted to try a new kit at the store, or a new like crayon, or marker, or paint. So we're always coloring and doing things like that.
I know that you have a really responsible and tough job at your finance job. So do you feel better since you picked that up, and you just have a different way of, usage of the other side of your brain and doing something that isn't that analytic? Or do you think that some of your way of thinking at work you also incorporate in your artwork?
Yeah, I think it works both ways. I think like I do the work, it's really busy. It's like really, all day from the time I get in to the time I get home. And then once I get home, instead of like sitting down and just like watching TV for, hours before I go to bed, I'll usually just try to come in the studio and like either if I don't make something, organize something, or, cut some stuff for a project that I want to make, or just try out some new techniques with products that maybe I got in the mail that day. But I think the creative side also helps a little bit at work too. It helps you think a little bit differently, or maybe I'm just a little more calm when it comes to problem solving.
Yeah, I think that's actually a big part of crafting or arting, is that it's a constant way where you have to solve problems while you're creative, because it's either your skills or something else happens, or your picture in your head is different of what comes out, and so you're constantly trying to solve some problems. And I think it it made me feel less afraid of situations where you don't know the like. I mean, you have to think through in certain
Mhm.
jobs. I mean, as a paralegal, I know that too. But you kind of like it's a good schooling of dealing with the moment, right?
Right.
Uh,
I think it also like translate in a way when when you're doing stuff with like techniques or when I'm playing around with mixed media, like it's just like, well, what happens if I do this? And it's kind of like, well, I don't know. Let's try it and see. And we're kind of doing our own experiments. And sometimes at work, I think it's surprising to people. And they're like, well, what should I do? And I'm like, well, let's just try it and see.
right.
And, when it works, it's lucky, I guess.
No, yeah, but I think like I mean it depends on what it is exactly. But I mean you don't want to try that when you're opening up a person and be in the operation room or something, maybe, right? But like I'm saying, like it depends on what it is, and I think in a lot of jobs we are so into this like this is the way to do it, and no other way is possible, and. I think that helps a little bit. Like, yeah, there are some other ways maybe too that can change things up. So well, maybe this leads us to your superpower, but so the theme of Creative Jumpstart this year is, or 2020 is superpower. So for those of you who don't know, the artists always get a theme, and this year, and then they make about 10-minute video. And this year I asked them to do something that has to do with their artistic superpower, and that can be a lot of different things. So what is your artistic superpower?
Mm-hmm. I would say, in every medium that I use, whether it be like card making or painting, I think people always say, oh, wow, it's always so colorful. So my superpower would be probably rainbows or just like my use of color. Like I like to use bright colors. So I'm still thinking on a project, but I know it will be colorful.
Yeah. So we are actually recording this at the end of the summer. It's August, so we are far ahead of any deadlines for video. So you have tons of time. But I see a rainbow and I see your books being arranged in color too. So that's super fun. So I guess then your normal life, not normal life. I mean, like your non-artistic life superpower. What would that be?
I would think like even at home and at work, it's like keeping things really organized, like finding solutions to like organize things, whether it be like my closet or things at work or keeping things in the kitchen organized or like planning like meals for the week, just like keeping everything on a schedule. So
that you can play with the rainbow.
Yes.
Are you super organized? And I mean, I'm looking behind you and I'm like, holy cow, this looks like the most organized studio I've ever seen. Are you like super organized? Are you hiding? Like, I'm hiding things right
hiding
now.
some things. but for the most part, everything has a place in the room. So there is, all the books are behind me, all the stamps are behind me. I have a whole bunch of like carts and everything is compartmentalized to hold like markers or paints or... So everything does have a place. If it always gets back in its place, that might like throughout the week turn into a big mess. And then, I'll try to spend a little time on the weekend organizing it. But generally, yes, I know where to find everything.
That's pretty good. I hope I can get there someday.
Yeah. I've been working on it and I've been definitely giving some things away. And fortunately, my sister is a teacher. So some kids are playing with really nice art supplies this year, I think.
Well, I'm moving. I'm good with giving away stuff right now too. It is amazing how much you accumulate over the time, and then you purge again, and you're like, how did that happen again, right? So, I know that you have been taking a lot of classes in the past couple of years, and we have talked about a lot of those. And what's super interesting is because when I look at your cards, which are super colorful, but you oftentimes also use very geometric and very organized ways of doing your cards. Like I think you're like one of the master card makers. But you're super interested, which is another side that you have, and that is you take a lot of abstract painting classes. And that might be surprising for some if they only know you from your card making and like very structural, maybe, work.
Mhm.
What is it about abstract art that intrigues you? What makes it feel for you that this is, your thing?
I think it's like a different way. I mean, I took a class just locally with an artist. He had some classes at his studio. So, really to learn about mixing colors. And then we were doing some paintings, and, everyone had to paint from a picture. And I realized that wasn't my thing. So, I started looking into some classes that were more abstract. And for me, it's like that's easy for me to do. I kind of just can do whatever I feel like doing. And it also incorporates the color mixing.
Yes.
So, if I'm like, oh, I pulled a picture out of, and I do this a lot, like I pull a picture out of a magazine and I'm like, this is a really cool color combination. It would be great on a card or great with paint. I'll mix up the paint and just have at it with just making marks. And I think that's just fun. You don't have to think about like scale or drawing, or to me, it's just easy for me. And I think I kept at it because the first time I took a class, my husband said, you seem really happy when you're doing that. He's like, you should take some more classes. Yeah, he's been very supportive in that.
It's a little bit self-serving, maybe.
Yeah. Little less cranky though, So it's good for everyone.
So how often do you do a class?
I try to if I see something new, I this year I just did a watercolor class, and I did post some of those projects on Instagram, and I never really played with watercolor. I was a bit intimidated, so I'm actually trying that out now. So I kind of do one. I try to do the projects, and and it's never when I'm finished. I never probably finish every single lesson, but once I've done all the lessons I want to do, I will, I might see something from an artist I like online or on Instagram, and I'm like, oh, that looks really cool. Let me try that class out. So I definitely have a list.
Do you paint intuitively, or do you look at something and say, oh, this looks cool, I'm gonna try to capture that in an abstract way? Let's say you're you're looking at the skyline of Manhattan or whatever, right? You're taking the ferry, or I don't know, you're I'm talking about water because I know we both are close to the Hudson River.
Close to the water. I could go jump in right now, but I wouldn't. I would recommend that.
Have you ever try to pull that off in an abstract way, or is it more
no,
something?
I know I have some books back there on more. It's more intuitively, but I do like the look of landscape. So I've seen that, and I do have and that's another thing. Besides just doing classes, you can see I have a lot of books behind me, and I like to collect those as well. But I've looked at some of those and explored a class that has kind of incorporates some drawing, so that might be something for me to complete once this one is done. But for the most part, it's just a lot of mark making, a lot of different colors, and just a lot of playing around with texture and line work.
Yeah, cool. So Cheiron, I know that you were so what's your Instagram handle actually?
It's at Cheiron. It's my first name, and it's Cheiron.
Yeah, so follow her. So I followed her, and I saw that, sometimes you get a glimpse into the private life of people, of course. So I saw that you were just recently in the UK, and it looked like an amazing trip. I think you were there with your mom, right?
My mom, yeah.
That's cool. So, and you were not just in London, you were also traveling a little bit around, or did a day trip or something?
We did a day trip, yep. We did a day trip to Brighton for the day. So.
Nice. So did you... Sorry.
Just a little exploration outside of the city, something fun.
That's cool. So when you were there, did you see something that made you want to go home and play creatively, or did you buy something or collect something that you want to use?
Well, I actually joined my mom. She was already going on a trip with some friends, and she'd been there before, and they were doing a cruise, and then they were going to spend a week by themselves, exploring. But she's been there a number of times, and she's probably seen all the, sites that they were going to see. So I decided to join her, and then we found out there was a Christian Dior exhibit going on at the V&A. So that was probably one of the most inspirational things that we saw. We spent probably about 3 hours in the exhibit, looking at all the clothes from all the different designers over the years. And some of the things were really amazing. Like, I think the most inspirational to me out of all the things, there was a dress that was a strapless dress made of feathers, like in a rainbow of colors, but all the feathers were dyed. And it was just amazing. Like, from far away, it just looked like a beautiful multicolored dress. And when you go up and read like how they put it together, it's really amazing.
Yeah,
so
it's crazy.
A lot of colorful things. And actually, speaking of rainbows, at the end of the exhibit, when you walked out, there was a huge wall display of like all the different like accessories and things over time, and they were put in rainbow order.
Oh, cool.
So it was pretty. That was like the main highlight of the trip.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, it was really neat.
Did you take like photos or made notes or?
We definitely, I did take a lot of photos, and they're actually on my Instagram story. I have a saved story, so some of the dresses that we saw that day are in one of my pinned posts. So
check it out.
A lot of food pictures as well. There's a lot of the dresses that we really liked in the post. And of course, like usually the museum, when they have an exhibit like that, they have a book. Mm-hmm. So I do have the book in my living room, and I, pick it up from time to time when I'm looking for like a color combination or maybe like a design or some kind of, because a lot of them have a lot of embellishments on them, like something that might stick out that would be like, that would transfer really nicely to a card.
Yeah. I was just talking to another teacher that we have on Creative Jumpstart. Her name is Tonya Jen Jenny, and she's awesome too. But what she did was she makes like all kinds of stuff, but she also makes sometimes jewelry. So she looks at abstract paintings and then makes like bead bands and stuff that is inspired, like pendants that are inspired by the paintings. And so I can also see that with, you're looking at fashion and certain pieces, and then you turn that into something, you get color inspiration, material inspiration, texture inspiration, and turn that into something on a canvas or in a card or a book, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Very cool.
Awesome. So is there anything you have coming up in the next, let's say this video comes out in December, are there classes that you know of already that you're teaching in that time?
The only thing I can say for 2020, I'll probably be teaching at Crop on the Cape, which is in Cape Cod. And that is an event for, I think there are like 200 people can go. And it's a weekend-long event, and there's classes from all different instructors there, as well as like a space to crop with your friends. And I've gone, I think, the past 3 years now, and I've taught for the past 2 years, so it's a really fun event, and it's cold, but it's still beautiful up there in March.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. You're gonna post about it on your website or blog too, I bet. And where else can people find information about you?
On my blog, and my classes are also posted on there. When they come up, I'll list them like a month or two in advance, and I usually do post them on Instagram. And my blog is linked on Instagram, but it's CheironBrandon.typepad.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was super fun to see you. We have to get together in person soon again. Thank you so much for taking the time on a Saturday. It was super fun to chat with you.
Great. It was always good to see you.
Sign up for Creative Jumpstart. Use her link. And see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.